Welcome to the 143G podcast, brought to you by the Gregory Mark Shea II Foundation, where we illuminate the paths of recovery and resilience. Each episode, we dive deep into the world of substance abuse and the transformative journeys to recovery. We're here to provide a platform for those who have battled addiction to share their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs. Join us as we explore the resources that pave the way to healing, hear from first responders who are often unsung heroes in these stories, and discuss the latest in community news and advocacy. Our mission is to empower, educate, and embrace individuals and families navigating the complex journey of recovery. Whether you're seeking solace, looking for inspiration, or aiming to contribute to the conversation around substance abuse and recovery, 143G is your go-to source for heartfelt stories and valuable insights. Let's embark on this journey together, fostering hope and change, one story at a time. Welcome to 143G.
Just want to start off by saying my name is Jack MacMillon, and I'm a person in recovery. I suffer from substance use disorder. My DOC, my drug of choice, was fentanyl and heroin, and I'm a little over two years clean. Thanks,
Good
guys. I'm just gonna go and tell my story a little bit, kind of where everything started. I was born and grew up on the South Shore. Relatively normal childhood, 2-family home. I wasn't neglected. I wasn't abused, anything like that. Granted, there's so many people out there with issues like that. But I was a happy kid. And around, I'd say, like 11, 12 years old, I'm not sure if it was loneliness because I didn't have many friends, or if it was just curiosity, but I started to experiment with marijuana, weed, whatever you want to call it, And pretty quickly, when you start to smoke weed and hang out with people like that, you start to look things up online. We're in the age of the internet. And like the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. And one day I was home alone and just kind of rummaging around my parents' bedroom. Ended up finding a pill bottle. It was labeled oxycodone. I had no idea what that was. But after a quick little boot up on our old PC, and everybody talking about how it made them feel high or made them feel good, almost like all these people who were older than me, who were already surrounding me with things like smoking weed, and that made me feel good. And like I said, I don't know if it was my mental health issues showing in the beginning, because I do have some, but the first time I took it, it was like nothing I had experienced before in my life. The feeling is indescribable, and most people who dabble with opiates will tell you that. I won't get into all the nitty gritty, of course, but I was gonna say, but with this, and with me stealing my father's prescriptions, this became a more regular thing. I started to notice things like my grades were slipping in school. I was isolating. And because of this, my parents began to notice. And I ended up getting sent to my dad's old school. He would call it a quote unquote shrink. It's a psychiatrist, therapist, somebody who can diagnose and, prescribe potentially. And I got diagnosed with a variety of things. So I won't bore you guys with the details, any of you that out there watching. But and me taking these pills wasn't helping. It was making things worse. And I began to start to notice. I remember I was 14 the first time I experienced withdrawal. I thought I had the flu, sweating, my face was cold, I was vomiting. I won't go into further details because I don't want to gross anyone out. But I was gonna say, yeah, and this continued for a while, but eventually, what ended up happening was my my father kind of caught on and thought like, hey, maybe it's like like a large quantity of these pills that were starting to shape my life, shape my addiction, were missing. So I had to come up with something else. So because I was already hanging out with people older than me who were introducing me to some of these other substances, and at this point, we're like a year or two into it, so I'm 15 or so. Um, uh, Not going to name any names for obvious reasons, but met a quote unquote dealer through a so-called friend of mine, and he said he had the same thing, but they were these little blue pills. These little blue pills have been all over the news recently too. Past few years. What I didn't know, to my surprise, is these were way stronger, and it was like something was wrong, and I began to have blackouts, and as I continued on this journey of doing these blue pills every day, a friend of mine told me, they'll hit you harder, they'll hit you faster if you snort them or if you shoot them. And I go, what do you mean? I thought this was I thought this was whatever, Percocet. He goes, that's not Percocet. He goes, that's heroin. He goes, you're doing heroin. You're doing fentanyl. That didn't stop me though, because I was already hooked. It's that flu, that sickness is, you would rather die than go through it. And and this went on for years, and eventually it got to the point where when I was 17, my junior year of high school, I ran through a stop sign because I was high, and I T-boned someone, almost killed somebody and their kid. I didn't have a scratch on me. She and her kid didn't either, but I had to come clean because this was getting out of control. So when my parents came to the scene of the quote unquote crime, I pulled my mom and dad aside and I told them, I said, hey, listen, I've been snorting and thinking about shooting these pills, and it's been going on for a few years now, and I can't stop. I don't know what to do. I need help. The issue was I was still a minor, and many places don't take minors. So I found something called an IOP, which is an intensive outpatient program, which they allow sometimes people who are 16 years of age or older to participate in, which is a very, very, very valuable resource for those out there who could be potentially watching this right now. It's definitely one of the things that helped save my life, but my story didn't stop there because you know, because of this accident, because I grew up in a small town, because all of a sudden I was missing days of school because I was going to this building in Norwell for 2-3 days a week, and then showing back up to school. Word gets around quick. Oh, did you hear about Jack? You hear about the accident? Yeah, I heard he was going to rehab or something. People said jail, kids. And I just continued to struggle on. And even though I was going to this IOP and I had this structure, and my parents, they were devastated. They didn't want their son to die. I couldn't stop, and it started to get to the point where I was doing things at the IOP like paying other people who are in the program for things like fake urine so I could pass my drug tests, etc. I won't bore you with all the details, but so I ended up finally getting about 3 months of clean time, and this was in the summer after my senior year of graduating from Cohasset High School, and my parents were very proud of me, and I was proud of myself. But I was nervous because I was going off to college. I was going to the North Shore. I got accepted to Merrimack. Shout out the Warriors.
Well, good school.
It is. Uh, and things were good. I ended up, uh, I was doing good at first. But after about a month or two, and because of some of my mental health issues, I have ADHD is one of the big ones for me. I have a real issue with detail and struggling to focus and keeping things on track. So because of that, and because I was on a college campus, I was venting to my roommate. My roommate, of course, said, "Hey, have you ever done cocaine?" He goes, "I know a guy can get cocaine, or everybody here is prescribed Adderall. You just crush it up and snort it." And that led me right back to the substances. And pretty soon, that same guy on that same campus. Well, he did. Actually, I'm not gonna say where he's from or anything, but that same guy who was coming to that same campus every day, because I was right on the New Hampshire border. Those of you who don't know, a lot of the towns around there are notorious, unfortunately, for criminal activity and a higher crime rate. And drug trafficking is a big issue up there. The bordering town is Lawrence and has one of the highest overdose rates in the entire state right now. So I ended up picking up more of these blue pills, and I was hanging out, 19 years old, in this dorm where I should be, studying and making friends and maybe meeting a girl, like becoming an adult in the real world. I was sitting here with this almost 40-year-old man, and he ended. And he asked me if I had ever injected, shot drugs before, and I hadn't. So that ended up happening. I don't really want to go into detail because it still gives me the chills to this day. But and because it got so bad again, and I couldn't stop again, I told my parents. I said, "Hey, I have to withdraw from Merrimack." I just sent in my email to the dean of admissions. So long story short, come back to Cohasset, but unfortunately, I don't know how. That only made matters worse because now everybody who was my age, who was 19 going on 20, about to be sophomores in college, was off away at school. So I was isolated again. So I reached out to some of those older friends who were still around. And at this point, a few of them were just buying straight the straight, the heroin powder, shooting it. Like, and it transitioned from these lids all the way back from when I was 14 with the curiosity killing the cat, and just wanted to feel good for a few hours to it's me being 6'1" and 120 pounds, sh- shooting dope in my parents' basement. It's it, it I just couldn't stop, and through many attempts, I ended up finally. I went through 31 different inpatient 28-day programs across 4 different states, 6 different sober homes. And today, sorry, I'm free. I'm I'm free from it. I don't have that urge anymore, and I'm over 2 years sober.
Yes.
So if anyone out there is listening, you can do it too. If some little kid from a little town in a little state like Massachusetts can do it, then you guys can do it too.
Yes.
That's all. That's all I have.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's perfect.